We are back. It is Mock Draft Monday, Dynasty rookie mock draft for you. As always, hit that like, hit the subscribe button for us, and join our Discord. And we're here, a 3-rounder. This is our first 3-round Dynasty rookie mock draft. We have landing spots. Link to the mock draft that I'm using is in the description of the video. It is from Tankathon, and I know they update their mock drafts all the time. I'm recording this Sunday morning of the Super Bowl, Sunday, February 8th. If you're watching this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe it's changing. That's why. But I will give you, where these players land. And we're just going to jump right into it. Again, it's a 3-rounder. It's a super flex mock draft, tight end premium, PPR, all that fun stuff. And by the way, join our Discord because we, as you can see, we have the players in the database here. And we can do live rookie mock drafts with you all. And you'll know when we go live if you join our Discord. It is free to join. And we're just going to kick it off here. Pretty plain and simple. Make sure I turn off the sound here so it doesn't annoy you. It's Jeremiah Love. I mean, he's the 101. He's everyone's 101, whether it's a one quarterback, super flex. I guess the only formats in which maybe Jeremiah Love is not the 101 is if like you play in a wide receivers get 3 PPR points or something like that per reception, something crazy where wide receiver scoring, it just dominates. But we got Jeremiah Love here at the 101. He goes to the Saints, a pretty common landing spot for him. I think it's interesting, that landing spot, because are the Saints 100% ready? Because I always believe if you're going to take a running back in like the top 10 or in the first round even, your team has to be built for that running back. Like the Lions were kind of built for Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's why we saw a really good rookie year for Jahmyr Gibbs, whereas like the Falcons weren't really built for Bijan, and we didn't see we saw a solid season for Bijan, but it wasn't top 10 or anything his rookie year. At least in points per game, it wasn't. Are the Saints built for Jeremiah Love? I don't think so, but also this draft, it's like just take the good players because there's maybe not a lot of blue chip prospects out there. And so, might as well take one in Jeremiah Love. I just think he's awesome, and he's the 101. At the 102, I'm going Jordan Tyson. As you guys know, with the 102, to me, it's a tier of 3 players, the 102 to the 104. Maybe we can push it to 5. There's 2 receivers, potentially 3 receivers and a quarterback. I'm going to go Tyson here. These top 3 receivers to me are all close enough to where I can kind of play landing spot a little bit, draft capital and landing spot. I'm going to go Jordan Tyson here. He goes 13th overall to the Rams, and I think him going to that landing spot could easily make him the 102. I think even if he doesn't land on a team like the Rams, he could be the 102 in this draft. I think he's that good. Does have some injury concerns. Obviously, you have Puka Nacua there. You have Devontae Adams there, but Devontae Adams is getting up there in age. I believe he just turned 33 years old back in December. So he'll be 33 for the majority of the season. You could definitely, get another receiver in there. And I'm not worried about him going and playing alongside Puka Nacua, because the last couple of years now, we've seen 2 elite wide receivers produce. Cooper Kupp back in 24, until the fantasy playoffs was awesome. Devontae Adams last year was awesome while Puka was being insane. So I'm fine with Jordan Tyson going there. Yeah, there's concerns with Matthew Stafford and all that, but next up is Fernando Mendoza. And again, I will keep harping on this. Like, I think Mendoza comes into play at the 102. I think he comes into play at the 102. And if you want to take him at the 102, I'm not going to complain. A lot of people don't believe me, or not believe me, agree with me there. And that's fine. I just think the positional scarcity of quarterbacks in general, not only just in Superflex in general, but in this draft in particular, like Mendoza might be the only first-round quarterback in a Superflex league that's worthy of a first-round pick in a rookie draft. There could be someone else. I did take someone else in this draft, and we'll get to it, but there's a chance that it's only Mendoza and no one else. Also, he's going to a situation where he has some weapons around him. Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, you got solid wide receiver pieces, and Tucker, maybe Besh develops into something. Maybe they take someone else, or they bring in a free agent. Also, you got Clint Kubiak coming in, and look what he did with Sam Darnold this year. So I like Mendoza here at the 103. And obviously Mendoza goes overall Yeah, first overall. Carnell Tate is at the 104. It's kind of crazy because like I think I've decided that my wide receiver one, who I haven't even taken yet in this draft, is Mekhi Lemon. But again, it's so close to me that I kind of will, I think, lean landing spot in draft capital. It's hard to ignore a receiver going top 5, and that's where Carnell Tate goes. Now he goes to the Giants, which isn't the greatest landing spot, but it isn't the worst. And at least they, for as far as we know, they have kind of their quarterback in place, and you get Harbaugh in there. Now I know a lot of people are pointing to Harbaugh and never having, these elite wide receivers on his teams and stuff like that. Is that because of Harbaugh? I don't know. You get Matt Nagy coming over and maybe people kind of as the offensive coordinator. Maybe people don't love the Matt Nagy hire. And so could Carnell Tate fall a little bit? Sure. But I also don't really love the landing spot for my wide receiver one, Mekhi Lemon. He goes 16th overall to the Jets. And at least with the Giants, both of them are going to play, the 1B or the wide receiver 2 alongside the stud there. Carnell Tate is, Neighbors to me is a step above Carnell Tate. Garrett Wilson was a better prospect than Mekhi Lemon. I think he's probably a better player. That being said, at least the Giants have a quarterback in place, and they have a head coach that I think is a good head coach, and is going to have that team in contention potentially. And whereas like Mekhi Lemon, he's going to the Jets, and it's just kind of a dumpster fire, man. I mean, even Garrett Wilson, like. It's hard. And again, I think Garrett Wilson is a better prospect, a better receiver than Mekhi Lemon. And it's hard to get him even like a season as a top 12 wide receiver. I mean, in points per game this year, he was wide receiver. I think he was top 12 if you look at just like the first 5 or 6 weeks, but he only played in like 5 or 6 games. And then beyond that, it's like, what was Garrett Wilson? He was like consistently kind of a low end wide receiver 2 in points per game. For Garrett Wilson. So yeah, did he finish higher? Yes, but 2024 he was wide receiver 21 in points per game. In 2023, wide receiver 33. So like they can't even get Garrett Wilson as like a top 12 guy in points per game. So how am I supposed to expect them to get Mekhi Lemon? That could change if they bring in the right quarterback. Potentially, we will see. Going at the 106 here, and again, how I do these mock drafts, I like to not just do, this is what I would do every single time, because that's just not how drafts work out. If you just go into it thinking, this is how I think it's going to go, because this is what I would do, you're going to get thrown a curveball, and how do you react to that curveball? And so I kind of like to, okay, where do I think, not only just what I would do, but where I think these players could go. Casey Concepcion, is a fun player, one of my favorite players. Does have some issues, not a perfect prospect, has a little bit too many drops for my liking, but he goes 26th overall to the Bills. And any wide receiver going to the Bills in the first two rounds is going to get a bump, because the Bills desperately need a wide receiver one. They just do. They need to figure out their wide receiver one position. Is that Concepcion? I don't know. I think he's a fun player. I think he can be versatile. I think you can give him carries. Could he be like a better version of like a Curtis Samuel in his prime? And Curtis Samuel had a couple good years there where he was kind of that versatile wide receiver where he could run the ball. You could give him two or three carries a game potentially. So Concepcion goes to the Bills, and I see any wide receiver that gets drafted by the Bills in the first round, I would find it hard to believe that he really falls too far past kind of the 106 to 108 range. Next up, I take Ty Simpson here. Again, he's such a tough prospect for me to kind of like wrap my head around of like, what is he? Because again, you watch the first 2 months of game film, September, October game film from Ty Simpson. He looks like the number 1 overall pick. There was people comparing him to kind of like a Joe Burrow-esque type of rise coming out of nowhere, where Joe Burrow in his one big year in college, it's like no one really expected that. And that's kind of what Ty Simpson was looking like. Not comparing him to Burrow, but just in terms of how he was, no one expected it, kind of came out of nowhere, and he was looking like the number 1 overall pick. And then you watch the game film from November and December, and it's like, what happened? But he goes 21st overall to the Steelers. He's going to have the opportunity there. We don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to come back. And even if he does, I still think Ty Simpson as a first-round pick at the quarterback position in a Superflex league should be a first-round pick. If you want to push him down a little bit, there's tiers to this, right? Like a couple of these players that I'm going to take at the 109, 110, could I make a case for them at the 107? Absolutely. Even if Aaron Rodgers does come back for another year, okay, Ty Simpson sits for a year. Maybe it's not the worst thing there. But again, going 21st to the Steelers, opportunity is there. Quarterback position is just so valuable. And if you don't believe me, go try and trade for a quarterback in a super flex league. It's damn near impossible because most teams, I would say 70% of the teams don't have even 3 quarterbacks that they feel good about, let alone, more than that. So at the 108, I'm going Denzel Boston. And one of our loyal listeners on our live stream a couple days ago, or yesterday, I think it was, T-Zane, I believe it was you, shout out. He said, his hot take was, that Denzel Boston should be kind of viewed as closer to the top 3 guys in Tyson, Tate, and Lemon, rather than kind of like the next tier with Concepcion. And I don't necessarily disagree with him. It's hard to find things that you dislike about Denzel Boston. It really, really is. He was productive, so basically he was at Washington. His first couple of years, he didn't do a whole lot, but think of the guys they had: Odunze, Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan. Odunze was a top 10 pick. Polk was a 2nd round pick. McMillan was a 3rd round pick. And when is his time, the production from Boston was one of the best in the entire draft class. He doesn't drop the ball ever. 3.6% drop rate in his career is absolutely insane. I think he had a year with a 0 drop percentage. He makes contested catches all the time. He has in his career over 60% contested catch rate percentage, which is insane. He had a year at almost 80% contested catch rate percentage is insane. He gets open, at a decent rate. So not a lot of things to hate about him. So Boston, didn't even mention where he went in this. Boston in this draft goes 24th overall to the Browns. So it's not the worst spot. But again, the Browns are in another situation where it's like, who's their quarterback? Are they playing for their quarterback in 27 maybe? So I'm fine with them taking Boston here and hoping they figure out the quarterback position as soon as the 27 season starts. Jadarian Price is up next. And again, I'm only taking players that were taken in this mock draft, by the way. So I think there's about 30 to 31 players taken in this mock draft. So at the end of the 3rd, I'll kind of just do other players that weren't taken. But I'm going to take the players taken in this mock draft first. Jadarian Price, to me, is my RB2. I've kind of clearly, or not clearly, but comfortably put him as my RB2 in this draft. He goes 59th overall to the Texans. Maybe it's not the best, sexiest landing spot. I don't know if we love it. We have Woody Marks there, and I don't think Woody Marks was necessarily this amazing running back that can't be replaced. I think Jadarian Price is a better prospect than Marks. So I don't hate the landing spot. I don't love it, but I still think he should go in the 1st round. Again, just given there might only be 3 or 4 running backs taken in the first 3 rounds of this NFL draft. And so, again, it kind of plays back into there's a lot of receivers. Maybe you can find, if you have multiple picks in this draft, you can find your receiver maybe in the 2nd round. I'm not sure if you can find a 1st or 2nd or 3rd round running back in round 2 in this rookie draft. So I'm going to go ahead and take Jadarian Price at the 109. Kenyon Sadiq up next. This is a tight end premium league. Kenyon Sadiq, I'm going to take at the 110 here. If it wasn't tight end premium, you can make the case for him going maybe a couple picks later. Still think he's a 1st round pick. Goes 15th overall to the Buccaneers. I don't mind that. I don't mind that landing spot for him. Obviously there's a lot of mouths to feed. I'm pretty sure we don't know about Mike Evans yet. Chris Godwin's getting up there. Yeah, Mike Evans is a free agent. Does he come back for another year? Cade Otton is also a free agent. So he could be looking at a situation where in our minds we're thinking, oh my God, Evans, Godwin, Ibuka, McMillan, Otten, and now you throw in Kenyon Sadiq. How are they going to feed all these players? Well, Evans could be gone. Otten could be gone. Chris Godwin's getting up there in age. I think he's like 29 or 30 years old or something. So this offense could easily transition to like an Abuka, McMillan, Sadiq offense pretty quickly as soon as the 26 year or season. So Kenyon Sadiq here at the 110. I'm going to go ahead and take Emmett Johnson. Doesn't normally go first round in our mock drafts. Mostly because he doesn't. A lot of times he doesn't get drafted in these real, in these mock drafts. He doesn't get drafted in these mock drafts that I'm using quite a lot. But he goes third round, 82nd overall to the Vikings. I think if the Vikings take a running back in the second or third round, that running back is probably a first round pick. The opportunity is 100% there for them, for the Vikings. They have. Aaron Jones still under contract, I believe, but he's getting up there in age. Jordan Mason, I think he's just a jag, just another guy. I don't think he's anything amazing or whatnot. So Emmett Johnson could, and I still believe in the Vikings and O'Connell to turn that offense around. So Emmett Johnson could be kind of their guy pretty easily here. And to round out the first round, I'm going to go Chris Bell. I really like Chris Bell. He's a linebacker playing wide receiver, linebacker body playing wide receiver. And, he's expected to run at a decent rate too. Like I think he's expected to run in the mid 4.4s. And he's not a small guy at whatsoever. And I just love that combination. Now he did tear his ACL, on November 22nd. So, he might miss. And it could be kind of if you're going to miss training camp and the month of September or something, it could kind of be a redshirt year because it's hard for rookies to really learn the playbook. And if you're not out there and building chemistry and stuff, it's really hard. Could be kind of a redshirt year, which could push him more to a second round pick. I'm not going to argue against you if that's what you think. But man, he is fun. I think if he didn't tear his ACL, he could have been a first round pick in this draft and a clear first round pick in Dynasty. Make sure to hit the again, guys. Make sure to subscribe if you like the content and join our Discord. Going into round 2 at the 201, we got Jonah Coleman. Again, these are tiers, guys. If you really like Jonah Coleman and you wanted to take him at the 110, I'm not really going to argue too much against that. Jonah Coleman goes to the Ravens. 80th overall in the third round. So essentially this is a Derrick Henry replacement. So he's not going to overtake Derrick Henry. He could get worked in a little bit, for Jonah Coleman. Like he could maybe lighten the load for Derrick Henry just a little bit. But Derrick Henry is still the guy there. Keaton Mitchell, I think, is a restricted free agent. I think Justice Hill's still there. Rashid Ali is still there. But, Jonah Coleman he's going to be the heir apparent to Derrick Henry. So a lot of people could find that very, very appealing, pairing him with Lamar Jackson. At the 202, I'm going to go Michael Trigg. Again, it is a tight end premium league. Michael Trigg is a very, very talented receiving tight end. And he goes to the Chiefs. If the Chiefs are going to take a tight end in the second or third round, whether or not Kelsey comes back, people are going to, especially if it's a receiving tight end like a Michael Trigg or Max Clare, people are going to be all over that. People are going to eat that up. They're gonna draft, overdraft him. There's certain teams that get the bump. The Chiefs, the Rams, the Bills. These are teams that get bumps. Maybe there's a couple more out there. If Michael Trigg goes there to the Chiefs and whether or not Kelsey's there, I think a lot of people are going to jump all over that, especially in a tight end premium league. At the 203, a player I am rising on every single day, Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. He goes in the third round, so I'm not necessarily, there's a lot of second-round wide receivers that still haven't been taken. He goes early third round, 67th overall to the Raiders. So he reunites with his college quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. The opportunity is absolutely there for Omar Cooper. I don't think there's any wide receiver on the Raiders right now where you can say this is the clear-cut number one guy, and that could be Omar Cooper. Goes in the third round, and hit rate for third-round receivers isn't the best, but I still think the fact that he gets, the story you can tell here, which is going to push up his value, is he's reunited with Mendoza and his college quarterback, and the opportunity is there. So it's hard to ignore all that, and he probably goes early second round. Another Indiana wide receiver, back-to-back. I really like the Indiana wide receivers. I kind of like Omar Cooper a little bit more now. I started off liking Surratt more, but now it's Cooper. Elijah Surratt going 64th overall to the Seahawks. Tankathon is predicting a Seahawks win. You'll know if they won by the time you're watching this video, but I don't know yet. Elijah Surratt is the pick here. 64th overall to the Seahawks. I don't mind that either. Like, is it the best landing spot? No. But like he could easily fill in next to JSN and be the wide receiver 2 and the second most targeted player on that team pretty easily. So I don't mind it. He's on a good team that potentially could win the Super Bowl. He has an established quarterback. Now, the loss of Clint Kubiak, is that going to be kind of big? And we'll see how that affects Darnold. People are going to be talking about that all offseason. But still, we kind of go with what we know a little bit. And I like Surratt as a player. And, we're talking about a guy that's going to step in and be wide receiver 2 to one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Max Clare. I got Max Clare here, tight end out of The Ohio State University. He goes end of the second round, 62nd overall to the Broncos. Again, another nice landing spot. He's a receiving tight end. Evan Ingram was kind of like, yeah, he was there. Like, I don't think anyone really remembers, like, if you ask, like, what did Evan Ingram do, right? A lot of people might not be able to tell you. He was just kind of like ho-hum Evan Ingram, 50 catches, 450 yards. He was just another tight end. He was just another guy and stuff like that. So 1 touchdown. I could see easily someone coming in and replacing him. The Broncos have 4 free agent tight ends. They have Adam Troutman and Mercedes Lewis. Maybe you didn't even know that Mercedes Lewis was on the team. But Adam Troutman and Mercedes Lewis are both unrestricted free agents, so very good chance that they are gone. And you might be laughing at like, haha, Adam Troutman. Adam Troutman played a decent amount. He played over 55% of the snaps for the Broncos. And then you have Lucas Krull and Nate Adkins are restricted free agents. So Broncos finding a tight end, especially a receiving tight end, I think he could easily go in this range in a tight end premium league. Next up, I have Jeremy Bernard, a nice, fun player that I'm starting to like more and more. He goes 51st overall to the Panthers. I think he complements Teteroa McMillan quite nicely. Could easily be the number 2 target for that team. We'll have to compete with like Jalen Coker with targets. And last we saw of Coker was he kind of went off in that playoff game. So, am I saying he's going to be better than Coker? Not necessarily, but he's a better prospect. So he has a chance to be better than Coker, in my opinion. Jacoby Lane is the next pick here, and hopefully all these guys are in the database here. But Jacoby Lane is my next pick here. A really fun contested catch, makes spectacular. It reminds me a bit of George Pickens with like the spectacular contested catch, one-handed defender all over them. Generally, I don't love receivers that really can't separate a whole lot in college. And Jacoby Lane, to me, didn't separate a whole lot in college. But also, it can work. I mean, Pickens is the prime example of that. Like, Pickens doesn't necessarily separate a whole lot. And he just put up, what was it, a top 5, top 7 season or whatever. So Jacoby Lane, he goes to the Saints, 73rd overall. Again, nice compliment to Chris Olave. Chris Olave can take a lot of the attention away, and Jacoby Lane can do his thing a la Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, right? So I really like that. And, we'll see what Tyler Shuck is. Is he going to take that next step where he can kind of support 2 fantasy relevant receivers? We'll see. But I think it's a nice pick for the Saints. And I think it's a pretty decent landing spot for Jacoby Lane. Antonio Williams is up next here out of Clemson, going 92nd overall, end of the 3rd round to the 49ers. Again, kind of playing opportunity here. Like, you look at the 49ers, it's just like, who's going to be catching passes for the 49ers next year? You have Juwan Jennings, Kendrick Bourne are free agents. Those two of those guys, both unrestricted. Both those guys, were decent production this year for them, especially Juwan Jennings. George Kittle has a torn Achilles. Jake Tungis is a restricted free agent. He'll probably be back. Brandon Ayuk is seemingly off the team. It's like, who's going to catch passes? Like Pearsall and Demarcus Robinson? I don't know. So I think there's the 49ers really need to work on that receiver room. So I'm going to go Antonio Williams here. Eli Stowers. Again, I hear both Stowers and Stowers. Vanderbilt tight end, kind of a tweener tight end. Receiving tweener. He's more of a big receiver rather than like a tight end. He goes 66th overall to the Titans. You might be thinking, well, they already kind of have their tweener tight end there. But Chigakonkwo is a free agent, so he's already been in the league several years here now. They did have Gunnar Helm, and I really like Gunnar Helm, and I think Gunnar Helm probably is the tight end one for this team. So I don't love this landing spot, but could they use him just as like a 60% snap share guy and they heavily target him? Sure, they could. And I kind of like the coaching staff that's being built there in Tennessee. It's kind of a fun one. Zachariah Branch is up next. Wide receiver Zachariah Branch. He actually goes top 50. I've skipped over him a little bit because he goes to the Ravens in this mock draft. Again, like we struggle to get even one receiver that's like top 50, 15, top 20 even. Zay Flowers finally had, one of his better seasons, but it wasn't. I think if you take out week 18, which I think he put up like 25, 28 points or something. If you take that out, he was kind of like wide receiver 18-ish in points per game. I think he finished as like a top 10 wide receiver, but I always like to look at points per game. So now we're throwing in another receiver here. I don't know. I think Zachariah Branch is an interesting prospect. He's not my favorite, and the fact that he goes to the Ravens, it just pushes him down the board here for me a little bit. Chris Brazel, the second is going next out of Tennessee. Goes 53rd overall to the Steelers. I think he's a skill set that teams are going to value. So I do think he's going to go in the second round. I would be pretty surprised if he doesn't go Brazel. I heard Brazel a couple days ago, so that's why I'm saying it that way. I'd be surprised if he doesn't go in the second round of this draft. I think I know he has good size. He's 6'5". He can run pretty well. He's not a burner, but he can run well. He can run in the low 4.5s probably. And at that size, like teams are going to value those type of receivers. I mean, like Mac Hollins is like the perfect example of like, that guy, he's just productive for teams. He's going to have a long career. He's been playing since 2017, still in the league, and he's still producing because teams really value those big, tall receivers that can play on the outside, play the X position, stretch the field, block in the run game. And can Brazel do that? We'll see. But man, he just knows how to get open. He knows how to kind of play, play the power forward position at the wide receiver spot. And he goes to the Steelers. I mean, the landing spot doesn't excite me too much. Next up, I'm going to take Carson Beck. Carson Beck to finish out the second round here. He goes in the third round to the Dolphins. I am hearing a lot about like Carson Beck's going to get drafted. Carson Beck's probably going to be a day 2 pick. Teams are going to value him at the very least as a backup quarterback. But he goes to the Dolphins, and they have a new coaching staff coming in. Tua, who knows what Tua's future is. And so a potential opportunity is there for him. And in a super flex league, I'm fine taking a shot on a guy like Carson Beck. Into the third round, we're going to kind of fly through this a little bit quickly, guys, because a lot of these players are, we're getting to the nitty gritty here. Deion Burks is in the database. I'll go ahead and grab him. He goes to the Patriots, 95th overall. Again, taking players off from this mock draft first, and then I'll get into some of the players. I think the last like 5 or 6 picks are players that weren't taken in this draft here. So Deion Burks here, I think he's a fine player. There's some opportunity there going to the Patriots. He's a smaller guy. I think he's like 5'10". He's going to be pretty fast, but I think he's just going to be that classic kind of slot receiver here. Jack Endries, tight end out of Texas, is my next pick. If I could click on his name, Jack Endries here is my next pick. Jack Andrews goes, where did he go? He goes 90th overall to the Dolphins. So again, don't mind it. You got a new coaching staff. You get, the Packers head coach, from the Packers defensive coordinator coming over as the head coach. Bobby Slowick is their offensive coordinator. You look at Slowick, his couple years as an offensive coordinator in Houston, and he was Dalton Schultz had solid seasons under him. So, Jack Andrews has some opportunity here. Again, it is a tight end premium league. Trinidad Chambliss, who's still fighting to go back to school. I don't know how that's all going to play out. Like, you need to start, like, if you don't go back to school, but you don't, you think you are, like, you need to start preparing like you're going to be in the draft, combine and workouts and interviews and all that stuff. But I don't know how it's all going to work out, but he goes 78th to the Colts. Fun player. Don't know if he has the skill set to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, but he is a fun player with a lot of intangibles. Goes to the Colts. Again, kind of a muddied quarterback room there at the moment. Skylar Bell is my next pick, and he is in the database. I think he wasn't there last time. He goes 98th overall to the Eagles. He's one of my favorite, like, late second, third round picks in Dynasty rookie drafts. I think he will be in this year. I think he's a really, really fun player, super productive at the University of Connecticut. Goes to the Eagles. Not the greatest landing spot, but maybe A.J. Brown is gone or something. Malachi Fields up next. He goes 79th overall, so still taking players from this mock draft, going 79th overall to the Falcons. Again, like, I'm not the biggest Malachi Fields fan personally. And the landing spot to me is again not necessarily the greatest, but he's another one of those big-bodied receivers that can probably run pretty well for his size. And he's even thicker. Like, he's the prototypical X receiver, like outside X receiver. So those type of players who don't really move around a lot can be tough for fantasy, but obviously pretty valuable for NFL teams. And that's it. Those are the 29 players that were taken in this in this mock draft. And so we're going to kind of go through and fly through these last ones here. Mike Washington, running back out of Arkansas. Hopefully I got that right. Arkansas. I'm starting to really like him. He's getting a lot of hype. Mike Washington. He's a bigger guy. He's like 6'2", 230, Mike Washington Jr. Fun guy to watch, man. Like, he is big and he can bowl over you. Like, just a fun player. Go and check out some of his film. I'm starting to rise on him a little bit because I think teams are going to be pretty excited to, you can't teach like that type of size and stuff. If he can run in the 4.4s, which I see him potentially projected as, man, he could shoot up draft boards 100%. Mike Washington is a fun player. Seth McGowan is not in the database here, so I'm just going to go ahead and take a random player. This is running back Seth McGowan out of Kentucky. Seth McGowan is an interesting one because he's been in the league forever. I think he was there during the COVID year. He had some legal issues. He actually went to jail and all of that. So he missed a year and a half or so of playing football. He's an older prospect, so he's not going to go till day 3. But I think he's very, very intriguing. And so take a shot on Seth McGowan. C.J. Daniels out of the University of Miami. I'm going to go ahead and take here. Just think he's another player that has an interesting size speed blend there. Kind of just rolling through these a little bit. Justin Jolly, tight end out of NC State. Big boy. He's like 6'3", 260 or something. But kind of a fun player there. Again, tight end premium league always makes it a little bit easier. And we're going to finish off here with a couple of with a few running backs. Damon Claiborne out of Wake Forest. Again, he's another interesting back. I was a little bit more excited about him to start the process, and I've kind of cooled off a little bit. I think he's going to be more personally. I think he's going to be more of like a maybe like a Keaton Mitchell type of player. I don't think he can be an every down running back. And then we're going to finish off here with the Penn State guys. I know a lot of people love the Penn State running backs. I think they're a little bit I think they're getting a bump of like, we've heard their names for so long. And if you play like Devi and stuff, these guys were big time Devi picks, especially Singleton. I felt that way about like Ollie Gordon as well, where it's just like, you know, Ollie Gordon was this like name that we heard of for a long time, and he's coming, he's coming, he's coming. And then I don't know what he really is. I'm not saying Ollie Gordon can't be anything, but that's just kind of my feeling when it comes to those Penn State guys. So that's all I have for you guys. Again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys all in the next.